Hey guys, welcome to my video for the month of May's monthly celebration series here on YouTube. Basically, it's a blog hop. We've got about 6 of us participating. I always post the links below in the description box, so be sure to check that out. And it's a really nice mix of different stuff. One of the girls always does doubles. One of the girls challenges herself to sort of use the same supplies and flip them later in the month, and it's just a lot of fun, a lot of different inspiration and stuff. For me, the month of May is typically pretty busy. My oldest has a birthday in May, and then for whatever reason the last few years there's just always been some sort of a graduation, whether it's preschool, kindergarten, or high school, based on the kids in our family. So it's just kind of a hectic time, especially with school ending, so there's just a lot of school events, award ceremonies, and stuff like that. So I was not quite ready to tackle a big event like an actual birthday party. So for me, I went through and I found these photos. The last few years, when it is my oldest's actual birthday, we do a little donut cake in the morning for breakfast before school. And I love this idea so much. In fact, one of my friends recently, I want to say last year, she did this too with hers, and then again this year, and her son really loved it as well. So it's just kind of a fun tradition. And typically, like, okay, he was 7 last year, so I ended up doing 3 donuts and then 4 donut holes. There's another one in the back, just so I didn't have sort of this giant tower that was gonna fall over and make a mess. Now, when I was going through trying to make a decision on supplies, I thought that I had a specific Doodlebug collection that had donuts in it. For some reason, I thought that the So Much Pun had donuts in it. I went and looked online. I think it was more their coffee and sweets themed line, which I don't have. So bummer, because I was planning on using this. So basically, I needed to kind of rework what I was going to do. The sketch, I'm not going to show you the entire sketch. This was from I think it's a 13 pack from Scrapbook Generation in their download area. It's basically 13 sketches that are designed for 6x6 pattern papers. So if you follow their sketches in their classes, they have 2 sketch classes where they teach you different ways of using 6x6 paper pads. This is just a separate bundle of sketches. So I found one that I felt like was going to work for my photos, resized my photos, went ahead and printed them out. From there, I kind of have had to rework what I think I'm going to do. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm still going to use this paper pad because I do like Doodlebug's B-sides. And there's a couple in here, like this one specifically, that to me, it's just multicolored stars. It can read as birthday. It kind of goes with the sprinkles on the donuts. None of these will really work, or the die cuts and stuff. They're very sort of different food specific. So going through my room and trying to figure out what I was going to do, I remembered that I had recently purchased this Donut Treats stamp set from Mama Elephant. So I'm going to use this. Unfortunately, I think I cheaped out and I did not get the matching dies, so I'm going to have to pull out my Cameo, my pigskin mat, and play around with that, with cutting these out, because let's be honest, I'm too lazy to fussy cut them. They'll look terrible. I don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to start out with figuring out what pattern papers and stuff I want to use for my base. Then I'm going to go ahead and color these and start pulling kind of other basic supplies. Things like you guys have seen these tons of times, these Doodlebug frills that I've been pulling out and having fun with. They're just basic supplies that go with everything. Things like letter stickers, border strips, enamel dots, stuff like that are just very basic supplies. And then this is sort of my theme specific to what's going on in the photos. So I'm going to take you guys along on my process and get going on this layout. Alright guys, little bit of a spoiler alert on these images. I'm going to go ahead and take you through the process of stamping them and coloring them. After I did this, I went ahead and spent 2 hours messing with my Cameo and the pigskin mat, and I got 2 of them to cut correctly. The rest of them got destroyed. So basically what I ended up doing was, like, if you've ever used the Cameo for that, like when you do your offset and your trace and stuff, basically I just cut blanks and then went ahead and stamped my images on those blank die cuts and had to recolor a lot of them. So that was sort of a time-intensive mistake because I was too lazy to fussy cut them. So maybe next time I won't be too lazy to fussy cut them, or maybe next time I'll just go ahead and buy the matching dies because it is so much faster. I do know a couple people that have like the Brother Scan and Cut, which from what I understand is a little bit more simpler of a process. I'm not sure what it is, but my PicScan mat laptop phone combination just hates me. So I feel like if I were to do this again, I would probably just do, like, I wouldn't color in my images. I would go ahead and use the process to get the outline and just save the outline as, you know, a cut file, go ahead and cut them first and then stamp on them second, because then I'm not messing up, you know, all your coloring. Because it took me a while to color all these, mostly because I don't pull out my Copics very often, so I'm kind of out of practice with that, and I don't have like go-to color combinations memorized like I know a lot of people do. So I rely heavily on like a swatch chart, and I went ahead and just purchased the one from Sandy Allnock. She's here on YouTube, but she basically, instead of using like the Copic chart that Copic has on their website that you can print out and just kind of swatch and keep track of the ones that you have, she made her own, and she calls it a hex chart, where she put them all in hexagon shapes and moves them around, and she has them based on the actual color of the ink. So you can see like a visual reference on, you know, combinations that would work that aren't necessarily the same letter or the same number, because like anybody that has Copics and stuff, you know how you have to mix your colors, they need to be within the same letter, the same whatever. So it's kind of nice having that because I don't have very many, so it is kind of nice to look at it and know which ones are going to mix well together without having to sort of sit there and scribble on the side and make it work. So if you are struggling like me with that kind of thing, I would highly recommend checking out her Hex chart. I know years ago she had done a video on it, so it was always in the back of my mind, so I just went ahead, jumped on, purchased it, and that is what I'm using for my swatches and keeping track and stuff. And I did go ahead and speed up this portion of the video. The video itself, I think I'm sitting at 23 minutes long. This was just a longer layout to do, mostly because I am making my own embellishments, which is going to take longer because I'm coloring them in, cutting them out, stuff like that. And pretty much, other than some stickers, everything else as far as embellishments on the page, I went ahead and just made. So I ended up, later you'll see I ended up making tags and mixing these in, and then just going and pulling basic supplies like I had mentioned in the intro. I feel like things like labels, border strips, enamel dots, things like alpha stickers, just those basic things that you kind of have in, you know, all the colors of the rainbow are just so easy to pull out, especially because I was not working within a collection. I tend to like to work within a collection because I don't have to put much thought into it. But again, this was one of those things where, you know, I thought I had something in my stash. Turns out I did not. I must have been picturing one, you know, a different Doodlebug line, because a lot of their lines are very similar, which is why I like them, because they're similar. You can mix them. They use the same color palettes, that type of thing. So I think for whatever reason, I just thought, you know, I had picked up their donut, whatever line has the donuts in it, which I think I looked on like scrapbook.com or something, and the only one that I could find that had donuts in it was like a coffee themed line, which made sense why I wouldn't have it, because I don't drink coffee, I don't scrapbook about coffee, I'm not coffee obsessed. If Doodlebug were to ever come out with like a sugar-free Red Bull and hot Cheeto
collection, I would clean them out. Like, that's kind of like my drink of choice and my junk food of choice. So, Doodlebug, if you're listening, sugar-free Red Bull, hot Cheetos. I will buy it. So, moving on. So the donut frosting and stuff was pretty much where I incorporated colors for my layout. So I went through, picked out the papers that I was going to use on the layout, and then just used those colors as the colors that I was going to use for the donuts and stuff. And then the smaller photos that were represented on the sketch, I like to leave a little bit of a white border on the smaller photos, because they're going to be resting on top of pattern paper, so I want them to have sort of something to help them not compete with the pattern paper and help you see those photos. The 4x4 ones are going to be the same size as the little pieces of paper, so that's not really anything that I need to worry about. They're going to basically be part of the sort of paper and photo collage going across the paper. Now, as far as all of the pattern papers that I used in my layout, I just went through and pulled a couple different Doodlebug 6x6 pads, and that multicolored star pattern that I showed you guys in the intro was pretty much the one that I was using to pick colors from. And because it's birthday, I just basically went with sort of a rainbow palette. So just red and blue and green and orange and yellow. Some of the donuts have a little bit of pink in them because, you know, his sister's there, and donuts are pink. Like, the first time that I colored the donut box, I ended up coloring it brown, and then when my Cameo just destroyed it, I went back and colored it pink because that's what our local donut shop does, is they give you pink donut boxes. So I just went with these bright colors, and like I said before, Doodlebug is awesome in the fact that they keep their colors the same. After I figured out the ones that I knew I wanted to use, I did go ahead and decide that I was going to add in some black, so I went over to a Halloween pad and pulled out a black polka dot from that, and then I made sure I had all of the squares that I needed to cut out, and then I'm going to go ahead and start adhering everything to the page. And I just kind of did a quick measure to make sure that I was going to have somewhat of an even distance from the bottom of the page to the top of the page. And my original intention was to go and get the black Doodlebug paper frills, which are those sort of pre-punched paper strips that they sold years ago, and I bought them in every color. I was not able to find the black ones, which makes me think that I probably have them packed in a kit of some sort somewhere, or I already pulled them out and set them with you know, photos and paper for another layout, and I just was not able to find them. So once I get all this down, I just grabbed some scrap black basil cardstock, and I decided that I wanted to just do some real thin black strips of paper, pretty much just to, I like having a border between where all my photos and papers are and where the cardstock that the entire layout is on. It's just a personal preference. I also like the fact that if any of my papers or photos are not perfectly square, or everything's not, you know, lining up and butting up together into a straight line, putting that little strip of cardstock just kind of helps cover everything and makes everything look straight, and you would never know if it wasn't straight underneath. And you can even see like one of those light blue papers that I cut out, I had previously used on another layout, so I didn't have enough to get 2 full 4x4 squares out of it, but I knew that I was going to be putting stuff on top of it, so it didn't bother me that, you know, the corner of it was sort of missing because I was going to be putting stuff on top of it. So you might keep that in mind when you're using your 6x6 pads, is kind of think about where on the layout that particular pattern is going to be. And if you don't have enough of it, or maybe you've punched out a shape from it, just kind of keep in mind that some of those pieces will end up being behind photos or maybe behind a cluster or something, and go ahead and use it. So here you can see I just reached, pretty much I have a bag of scraps under my desk, so I just reached in and grabbed it and just cut some strips, and then 2 of them were a little bit thicker, so I got lucky in that I was able to use this really thin double-sided tape to put them down pretty quickly. And then the super skinny ones, I just end up putting those down with some liquid adhesive. I gotta tell you, this double-sided adhesive stuff, I don't even know if it's like, it can't be 1/4 inch, it must be 1/8 inch or something like that. I have been using it for everything. Journaling strips, border strips. I started labeling my ink pads with like a little swatch on the side, and I've been using that tape to adhere the labels to my ink pads because I'm just using cardstock. I'm not using like a label maker. And pretty soon I'm gonna have to go online and figure out what it is and order some more because all the rolls that I have were given to me and they weren't in like a packaging type, they were just like open. So I'm gonna have to go and find out what they are and stock up on some more because I don't know, I like fast type of adhesive. I feel like I've tried 9 different types of liquid glue and I feel like they all clog. Then no matter what bottle you put it in, no matter what type of glue it is, it's annoying. So at this point was when I was trying to figure out, did I have enough stamped elements? Where was I going to want to put them? And what was I going to basically do with the rest of the page? And so since I'm already using quote unquote card supplies, being those stamps, I went back to my card supplies and was like, you know what, I'm going to kind of challenge myself to see what else I can use. And I found this scripty birthday phrase, which I think is of my favorite things because I think they're the ones that have the brush stroke ones. I could be wrong. It came with, it said happy birthday. I only used the birthday one and I cut it out 3 times with that same black cardstock. So it's going to look a little bit thicker on the page. And then I pulled out a bunch of letter stickers to go ahead and finish off my title. And I feel like I wasn't really thinking about what I wanted my title to be. Like I just couldn't, it wasn't rolling off the tongue very well. I ended up putting annual in little red doodlebug stickers popped up. Birthday is from the die cut. Cake is from the larger, just flat cardstock doodlebug stickers. And then tradition is their small tile stickers in like an aqua color. So when you read it left to right, it says donut birthday cake tradition. But you can also read it as donut cake birthday tradition. So once I got done to figure that out, I was like, okay, well, either way somebody wants to read it, it's probably going to be okay. And then I decided to just go ahead and incorporate all those scraps and the offcuts from the 6x6 pad as part of my embellishments because again, I'm not using a collection, so I didn't have anything else that I could really pull that I felt like was going to match. So scraps was kind of like the perfect thing. And I had recently found this tag punch board thing from Tuesday Morning. And I don't know what I thought it was going to do, but I think I thought it was a little bit more substantial of a product. Like it got the job done. It definitely makes an even cut on either side. I just didn't realize that the little blade that you cut with doesn't actually stay on the track. Like you have to kind of line it up, hold it in, and you have to be really careful to make sure you line it up with the cutting line. So I don't know, I guess I just thought it was a tool that you could sort of use and abuse and didn't know you had to be careful with it. So I don't know. It's one of those things that it may grow on me as I use it more, but it was definitely a lot easier than going and finding, dies to try to cut them out or just kind of using scissors and eyeballing it. And then I printed my journaling on just a 3x4 card, cut that into a tag as well, and basically I just started piling stuff on into little clusters. The way that the tag was sort of ending with the photos and everything looked weird to me, so my solution to that was just to put one of these little label stickers on the bottom of the tag to kind of make it seem like there's something for it to rest on and it's not just floating between the squares and the photos and stuff. Probably makes no sense. Made sense to me at the time. Just sharing that with you guys. And then I just went over to the drawer that I keep all my stickers in and just pulled out cardstock stickers from Bella Boulevard. I think there was some from ColieBing Soup. Just ones that manufacturers that I knew put bright primary colors on their products because I knew that I could mix and match pretty much anything. So I was looking at things, basics again, things like arrows, labels, circles, things that weren't necessarily, like they didn't have to be birthday themed, they didn't have to be donut themed. I just wanted something that wasn't going to clash and something that was going to look out of place. So a lot of times I would just kind of, I'm ignoring the phrase stickers because like one of the sheets was camping, and now that I'm looking at that, there's a perfectly good sticker on there with a donut that I missed out on. We're just gonna pretend like I decided not to use it. Again, I've moved over to the right. I'm just using those scraps that I made tags out of. I chose not to go ahead and put thread in them, mostly because I didn't want, like, I'm lazy. I didn't want to do it. It was, at this point, I was on like day 5 of doing this layout, and I was trying not to get myself in this mindset that I can get in where, you're looking for the perfect thing, or, oh, they would look better if I put thread in them. No, it's more of getting it done, getting the photos and the story documented, and just kind of having fun with the process and not feeling like I have to find the perfect embellishment or anything like that. And most of the stamped images, I went ahead and put some foam adhesive behind them just to sort of help them stand out. My intention was for them to somewhat seem like a pre-made embellishment, but again, they're homemade, so they're not going to look like the manufacturer made them. But I love them. I think that they go with this theme and these photos that I have, and I would encourage you to sort of look at your card making supplies and see how you can incorporate them into your layouts, because it is a fun sort of process to do. So I thank you for stopping by, watching my super long video this month, and I encourage you to go ahead, check the description box below. All the other videos in this hop are listed and linked, and I will catch you guys in another monthly celebrations video next month.